one of the most common workplace frustrations is this. Two people can have the same contribution and walk away completely with different conclusions. The professionals can say, I have worked hard, I have solved problems. They can say, I have carried responsibility. And on the other hand, leadership can say, how does that change anything? That disconnect is what we are here, and that confusion is what we are here to clarify tonight. My name is Victor Omolaidime, and I welcome you to the Swift Institute sessions. And tonight, most professionals actually evaluate contribution through effort. It's one of the critical things that we are here to actually talk about tonight. But on the other hand, leadership evaluates their own contribution through organizational impact. So this fighting, ideas is what we are here to actually clarify tonight. And this session is for professionals who consistently contribute, carry responsibilities, and support team success. I'm not here alone tonight. I'm here with the one and only Dr. Vildan Esseniel. And Dr. Vildan Esseniel brings insight from organizational systems, professional development, leadership dynamics, and workplace performance. Her work actually sits directly at the intersection of how organizations can evaluate contribution, how they build trust, and how they recognize value and make advancement decisions. Everybody online tonight.
So I will continue. Thank you, Victor, and thank you to the Swift Institute for inviting me to this important conversation. I really appreciate the choice of this topic because I think it's very real experience in the professional life. Very important. Because many capable people work hard, they solve problems, support others, and still feel that their real contribution is not fully seen by the leadership or the organization, we can say. According to the statistics, I think this is related with our topic today. Only about 1 in 3 employees strongly agree that they received recognition for doing good work in the last week. That means many people are working under a kind of shadow that nobody can see. They may still be doing their job, of course, because they are capable and they're hardworking, but over time the emotional connection weakens. They are losing their interest. First, they stop bringing ideas. Then they stop giving extra effort. Later, slowly, they may leave physically, or worse, they may stay and quietly withdraw. What is we call today nowadays quiet quitting, which is very dangerous for the companies. Why this is dangerous for organizations? Because invisible contribution often includes things that protect the company. It can include preventing mistakes, keeping clients calm, helping colleagues, training new people, and solving problems before they become visible. So, when I consider all of these things, let me also briefly say where I'm speaking from. My work sits at the intersection of these 3 areas. As an academic, I study and I teach leadership, organizational behavior, and communication. As a consultant, also, I see how these issues appear inside real companies. I mean the real people and real pressure. And for all of these things, all of these roles, I work in different organizational roles myself, including sales, human resources, hospitality, management, marketing, and I did all of these different things in different countries. So when I bring all my experience together, for me, this is not only about recognition or promotion. I see it as a structural and organizational design issue inside the organizations. Because when valuable work stays invisible, it usually tells us something about leadership. Not only about leadership, An organization tells us something very important about communication, performance systems, and how the organization defines value. So for me, I have this bias that I really like to define this through this systematic issue and organizational law. Of course, according to our today's topic, employees also have a role. They cannot only wait and hope that someone will discover them and rescue them. They need to learn how to explain their contribution in a clearer and more strategic way. But I want to say from the beginning that this shouldn't become the only employee's burden. Leaders and organizations also have a responsibility to see the real value. The main idea that I want to carry through today's conversation is simple. Value has to cross a bridge. There is a path that it needs to cross. Otherwise, there are two other different sides in that bridge. So on one side of the bridge, there is the work employees actually do, which they're complaining about that nobody notices. On the other side, there's how leadership understands and evaluates this hard work. Sometimes the bridge is broken. So actually, today's topic is about that. Why this is broken, can it be fixable? So also tonight we will talk about how employees can communicate their value better, what leaders actually look for, and what organizations should change so that good work doesn't depend on only luck, or lucky enough that they don't notice me, or confidence or visible. Well, I want to say something very important. This topic is very, very important that it cannot be considered something separate, or it cannot be something that you can talk in just 1 hour or 2 hours. It is something that you have to create, you have to establish, you have to develop for so many months. And sometimes the topic of the business administration department that we, work a lot. So, but we can discuss some of the main features. For example, if the leaders doesn't fully recognize the value of the contribution of the employees, what we can do? It is, I think, a very with one important distinction. When leadership does not recognize your work, it doesn't mean that the work has no value. Very often the work is valuable, but it has not been translated into the language leadership uses. So it's a leadership and translation problem. And of course, it is a communication problem. Inside the work, as an employee, you feel the work, you feel the effort, you know what you are doing, you have sleepless nights, you are, all these late nights, the pressure, the details that you are working on, and the small problems that you handle before anyone notices them. I know I have been there, but leadership unfortunately usually sees something else. They see whether the risk at the end was reduced, or whether the results that you created helped the organization. So there should be some shift change. We have to change our mindset. So don't explain to your leaders how hard the work was. Explain what changed because of the work. For example, an employee may say, I worked very hard on onboarding, all the chronological suffering. That may be true, and I know this is true, but it doesn't fully show the value to your leaders or to your stakeholders. You have to show the value. So instead of this, what you can say, for example, in this situation at least, new employees were getting stuck at the same point in the first 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It's a problem, right? Yes. There's a problem going on in the onboarding. So what you did, I created a simple checklist And after that, they needed less support and became independent faster. Now the value is visible. Victor, I am moving.
I see you're doing absolutely great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please go on. Go on. I've been
Okay,
joining
so
you up.
I
Yeah.
ask myself the question and I continue, okay?
Please go ahead.
Okay. So according to that, now you have to make this value visible. Okay, what happened? There was a problem according to the management. Now you made the value visible. So also you showed action, there is a result, and the translation. As I told you, it's a translation problem. And when you show your value, when you translate your value, then it becomes visible. Okay. So I know some people think that it is something exaggerated, but it's not actually. When you clear value communication gives the evidence without exaggeration. You are showing the proof. Okay, this is the evidence. I think this is important. That's why some people really don't want to show this, but you have to show this. And I also want to talk about something related with this topic: output and outcome. I see this in the organizations a lot because they are different things. They change how the work is heard and how much you should pay attention to this. For example, I really like this analogy. I use it a lot, like the mechanic. Okay, so for example, your car is broken and you take it to the mechanic, right? Uh, what do you expect from the mechanic? You want your car to be repaired. You don't want the mechanic to tell you all the things that they did. I suffered a lot, or I did a lot, all the also technical jargon that you don't understand. What you want to hear, yes, they solved your problem, the car is ready, and how much you need to pay, right? This is only the thing that you need to hear. So managers often listen in a similar way. They don't want to hear your chronological suffering. They don't need that. They respect that, but it is not what they need, especially in the chaotic workplaces when the time is very valuable. Even they respect the effort, they want to see the results. So, so when you always talk about your work, why you are valuable, and when you spend all your energy, it's not working. So, show the car is working, right? So what they need in workplace language, we can say that, when we translate this to workplace language, explain what you did to your managers, connect it to the results. When you do that, then your effort can be easier for them to understood as recognizable as value. Okay, so for example, it's another very important topic related with that. In my experiences also, for example, you can be very good code writer. You can write the best code in the world, but your coworker can write the code, but not as good as you. And your employers can really appreciate the other person coding. It can be sometimes maybe that person is creating the dashboards, right? Which the end user can find it valuable. So you can say that, okay, I created this coding and you can benefit, you can use this dashboard and you can benefit for your this objectives. And so the end user, which in this case can be your managers, can think that, okay, I can benefit from that. So they wouldn't understand your, sleepless nights and everything. So at the end, it comes to the point that you have to show the end result, and the user should benefit from that. Okay, so it's about sometimes, yes, we are working hard a lot, we are really doing a lot, but sometimes we are bringing the fire to the managers. We are showing the fire. Oh, there's a fire. We have to really do something about that. But are we bringing the also fire extinguisher, right, to the employer? And also, perfectly, are we bringing the blueprint? Okay, so employers, they have stress. Again, it's chaotic places, not very, reasonable places, organization. So in daily language, we shouldn't only bring stress to the top. Okay, instead of saying a problem, we should say, okay, there is a problem. We should show it, and there are 2 or maybe 3 possible ways to handle it. And I recommend, for example, as an employee, the first one, because this reduces the risk faster. So I think this can change how your manager looks at you. And now you are not only reporting the anxiety, you are helping to the company. I think it's about, again, the empathy, which I want to talk later, but it's about understanding the internal politics, organizational politics. Imagine yourself, if somebody only brings you stress, even a good manager, perfect manager, can feel overloaded, right? So we need to give them clarity, options, and trust. So they trust us more, and I think this trust is very important in career advancement. Oh my God, I was alone for a long time when I spoke.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. I've enjoyed this one a whole lot. Outputs and outcome, I think that's a very, very important, topic to actually put right now, because, like we said earlier, professionals experience their own work through effort. So there is a way that psychologically they are stuck on just the outputs, just talking about this is what we did, this is how we did it. And sometimes it communicates stress to the leadership, right? They don't want to know all of those things. How does it affect our vision? How does it affect the direction of the organization? And I think that's a very, very powerful one. That's a very, very powerful one. So what I get so far is sometimes the issue is not just contribution. The issue is translation. How is it translated? Does that pick up for you?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Doctor. And I want us to go to another direction right now. And I want us to talk about executive evaluation systems, because sometimes professionals realize that contribution alone is not enough, just like you just talked about. Just the output is not enough. So the next question now becomes, okay, how does leadership evaluate value? What are they looking for when we are working? So what exactly are they looking for? So the question now is, what do executives actually pay attention to when they are evaluating contribution and advancement readiness? Over to you, Doc.
Thank you for this. I have been in this kind of situations a lot in my life, so I can comfortably really talk about this situation a lot. First of all, this is where many professionals get surprised, because they think that promotion is something, it's a reward for past effort, right? They think they did everything correctly, and now they need this promotion. Yes. It is, I understand this. I was like that. I understand, because it is our academic conditioning from so many years ago. Because what's happening in academic world, you remember? You were working hard, you remember everything, memorize everything, and then you have the exam and you get A. So everybody notices and applauds. But in real life, it's not working like that. This academic conditioning is not working in work life. Okay, so this is first of all a problem, because it is not about your past effort in organizational life. It is about a decision about future risk. I mean, again, I have to remind this, because I'm talking about reasonable organizations. At the end, if we have time, I can talk about toxic environments, but I'm talking about normal, reasonable environments. So in reasonable environments, this is a decision about future risks. Okay, so when the executives talk about this advancement, they are usually not asking if that person is really work hard or not. They're asking whether they can trust this person with more responsibility in uncertainty and more visibility and more consequences because they don't know what the future will bring, right? So they need to have this trust. Okay, so that's why for so many employees, doing your current job very well in order to prove your readiness for the next level. Because next level is different. Everything starts after the next level. Being successful in your current job is not a guarantee. So a person can be very excellent in the current role and maybe still not ready for the leadership role. Okay, so in the beginning, I know it can sound unfair, but there is a very important reason behind it. The skills, I know you already know that the skills that you need for the job that you are doing not really enough for you to lead the people doing the job that you are leading, right? So I can make this analogy like orchestra. You can be the best violin player. You can be brilliant, right? But if you give that person the conductor's stick, right, because she's very good or he is very good, so the whole orchestra may not automatically improve because of this. It's impossible. So playing beautifully and conducting others in this business sense require different abilities. So unfortunately, we have to take it personally as employees, and organizations need to understand that. So the conductor listens to the whole room, manages timing, brings different instruments together. It's all the leadership issues, right? So sometimes organizations confuse these two things, which is also another, I think, a very critical thing. Sometimes they promote the best technical performance in the organization, like, for example, salesperson. She's the best salesperson. They make that person sales manager. Then they feel disappointed because that person cannot be a manager, sales manager. So I understand that people want to be noticed, but they also need to understand that are they ready for the other step. So I can also say what happens in that behind closed doors. I mean, it's also something cultural, I know. It depends on the culture, it depends on the size of the company, it depends on the industry sector, but from my experiences, I know what we were discussing in that behind closed doors. Generally, what is happening in advancement discussions like promotion, leaders, they don't have the perfect information, first of all. They don't see everything that you see as an employee. There are so many biases going on, and it's something that we also teach to our students in organizational behavior. So they remember some certain meetings, certain moments, which is very human, right? Certain stories, certain impressions, recent impressions. I know that is not ideal, but this is real. So behind these closed doors, the discussion often moves around trust. So they think, can this person stay calm, for example, when everything goes wrong? Will they make a difficult situation clearer? If we put them in front of a very important client, can they manage this? Do they know how to listen actively? Okay? And also another important issue, I think this is also very critical. Can they disagree without damaging the relationship? Are they capable of doing positive relationships, communication, even negative situations? In organizational life, this is very important. And did they show that they really understood the bigger picture? Okay, so communication, again, I want to turn back to communication, relationships, networking. These are all very important. So this communication that I'm talking about in higher levels is not only decoration, or it's not something that's nice to have. It is a must. Okay, it's part of the work. Because they evaluate these people according to this kind of things. And also I remember so many occasions that we really see that person as a future representative of the organization. I mean, like the avatar of the company. So when you see a person, avatar of the company, you would like to depend on that person. I know this is also very strange, but how you eat in business meetings, how you dress, how you make the small talk. I mean, how you drink, right? Everything becomes important because this is, I know this looks like microscopic, very details. And as an employee, you would say, oh, how they can evaluate me according to the situations. But this is risk management. Imagine there's $1 million of business going on, and it's happening in that business meeting. And if you don't know how to do this small talk, if you don't know how to hold the drink, sorry, but there's a risk going. Okay, so I mean, lots of things going on, and not only this, of course. I don't want to talk. This is the only issue, but it is a very integrated and whole. So. How you speak under pressure and everything, how you behave in settings is very important. And even I know that this is silly, and from leadership side, it can be interpreted as trust. Okay, I talk a lot, but I already talk a lot, so I can talk more.
But that's absolutely, this is an eye opener, because it just shows that leadership and employees are in two different worlds. Look at, imagine.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No,
go ahead.
In the beginning, that's what I told. There's a bridge, and they are speaking different languages, so we have to cross that bridge because there are different languages going on. Sorry.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. that's the what is showing up right now. They are in two different worlds. Imagine an employee who is waiting and said, when I'm done with this work, they're going to see my results. And what they're actually looking at is, how does he handle small talks in meeting? How does he hold the wine glass? How, these are things that needs to be taught out there, and they are the unspoken rules, that help people understand what needs to be done. And thank you so much for that.
Rules of etiquette, and this etiquette is part of the business communication. It is not something that really different. It's part of organizational behavior, business communication. Without understanding what is going on, it's not easy to understand really the full picture. And also, this is also related with our personal image, okay, the image management. Okay, no, most of us, even me, okay, we don't build our personal image consciously. But even we do or not, it is important.
I thought we were having some little network issues. So something just came to my mind before we go to the next. It's this, just something, a clarity I want you to bring on board. How does leadership actually connect? Because to employees, there are minor things. There can be minor things. For example, how somebody who handles small talks, what is the interpretation? These little things that leadership actually concentrates on. For example, how they handle small talks, how they handle pressure. How does it connect? What is their own side of evaluation? How do they connect those things to interpretation while evaluating someone?
It's not the only one, so I don't want to be misunderstood. But it is. So imagine I'm considering that everything is okay. I'm in the performance okay. Everything is ready, but at the same time, this etiquette rules are ready. This is important because I saw also so many people who are very successful, but they don't know how to deal with other people. They don't have emotional intelligence, right? So it is something that you have to really evaluate, objectively and all together. So it's, I think, very, very critical because it depends on, your culture, the atmospheres, the environment that you have been. So I don't want to be misunderstood, but this is one part of the big picture, really.
Absolutely. I get that. And I think mostly it's just a segment, not like the whole thing, right? It's just another part.
Yeah, assuming that all the other things are okay, your performance okay, this is the other part. So you have to go through for the other part. You shouldn't assume that I am hardworking, I do everything perfectly, why they don't promote me. This may be the reason sometimes, because
Wow.
it is they think the potential, right? Not the past.
And I think I'm beginning to see also that representation outside, even the etiquette side. Can this person represent us professionally, even if he knows how to do his work? That could be something that comes up on their mind too, right?
Yeah, because also maybe I need to tell this now. In especially in higher level of positions, what do you think? Yeah, normally we should always follow the rules, instructions, right? But sometimes they want to see in crisis. Okay, can you do that? Can you not follow the instructions and still do it perfectly? Okay, because following the instructions is easy. If you are hardworking, if you were getting always A in academic world, you can follow the instructions. But what happens if we have to lose all the instructions? Can you do it? I think this is
Wow.
another important point. And can you do it perfect, right?
Amazing, amazing. But that shows us that there are different things, just like you said, not just one. There are different grounds of evaluation. Exactly. And right now, I want us to talk about communicating impact. There are situations where probably two professionals can create similar results, but only one person can become highly visible while the other remains unnoticed. So the difference, like you said, is not always competence. It can be communication also, effective communication. So the question now is, why do some professionals communicate impact more effectively than others?
This is a very deep topic. There are lots of reasons, but to talk about, this topic generally, some professionals communicate this better because they understand the altitude. Okay, what do I mean? So they know they are working on the ground. Okay, these professions. So while leadership is often looking from the control tower. So on the ground, what is happening? You see the details, of course, because you are on the ground. You know the missing document, difficult colleague, the late message, or the late hours that you are working, the small mistakes that you corrected before it became very serious. So you're on the ground. But from the control, they don't see dealing with, first of all. They see the cost. They see the timing, trust, client trust, for example, reputation, which is very important for them, the strategy. So they see lots of different things. So there is altitude difference. So the view is different, right? First of all, you have to understand that. So strong communicators, what they do differently, they know how to translate between the ground to the tower. Okay? So instead of saying, I work all the weekend, oh my God, it was a disaster, I did this for this company, I did on this report, which is true, first of all. But instead of saying that, this is only because only sacrifice, right? Sacrifice and tears, blood, this kind of things. But from the manager's side, I'm sure they value it, but it's not very clear. Okay? So instead of saying that, they have to link it to the organizational values. For example, they can say that they work hard, so they cleaned the report over the weekend. Still, they can say they work hard. But now the team has the reliable information to make decision. So you can see that now they link this effort to the decision quality, which is important for the tower. Okay, so this same work now lands differently because it is spoken in the listener language. In communication, give very importance to that. There's the receiver and the sender. So you have to act according to the receiver. Now you really spoke the language according to the listener's language. Okay? And there's another problem here. As I told you, we have to understand the company's goal. Only 5% of the employees in the world clearly understand the strategy of the organization. They don't know the vision or strategy of the organization. So if you don't know the strategy, how you are going to link this, okay? So your hard work doesn't make sense if you cannot do that. Okay? So you are working hard, but you don't know what really the organization is really trying to achieve and what your managers really want to hear. It is not important really if you don't see the bigger picture. It's not important for the upper stakeholders. So you have to have this strategic awareness. Okay, otherwise it is not easy. Otherwise you may not be happy. When you understand the strategic priorities, your communication also can change, right? So you can show your strategic value.
That's really really valuable, because I think most professionals, the first thing that comes to their mind is what should we do, and I think from what you are saying right now is they have to know where are we going as an organization before you think of what we should do, because just like you said, you should be able to link up what you do with where the organization is going, and that's where it becomes valuable. Is that right?
Definitely. This is also related with
Awesome.
emotional
Awesome. Thank
intelligence,
you.
actually, not only understanding. So that's why in the beginning you were not here, but I think this is a very broad issue. I mean, this is organizational issue, a structural issue.
Mhm.
So it is maybe a book title, right? So lots of things can be contributed to this issue. Even I mean, emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence, for example, is more important than IQ, especially upper levels. And people think that it's all about being sweet and avoiding difficult conversation. But emotional intelligence is very strategical, actually tactic, and it's very practical. It's about understanding the vision, strategy, timing, mood, meaning of the context, and how much detail you should give to the other party. So lots of things are included. So also they need emotional intelligence. And I have to also really talk about this here. So many employees I have seen until now, they think they have the emotional intelligence, but unfortunately they don't have it. I think this is a very important gap. This is something that we are not aware of ourselves, right? And emotional intelligence is very critical. Without emotional intelligence, you cannot really become a very good leader. Even somehow you can be promoted, which is the topic of tonight. You cannot be successful. You cannot be a good manager, I think.
Thank you so much, Doc, for that. I think right now we should just move to our audience questions. We have some questions from the audience. Someone from Canada is asking, he said, my direct manager overlooks my achievements or takes credit for them. So he's asking, how do I ensure my value is recognized by upper leadership when my manager becomes a roadblock?
This is a very important question, and it is a very critical question because it is organizational politics, right? Because your direct manager is supposed to be part of the bridge that I was talking about, that your direct manager needs to help you. So when that person becomes roadblock for you, it is unfair, I'm sure. And unfortunately, it's happening a lot. So many people are really quitting their organizations because of the immediate managers. It is maybe the first reason. So this is a very sensitive issue. My first advice would be slow down before reacting, because people really like to react. So if you just go over your manager set to the other managers, it may feel maybe satisfying for one day because you feel relaxed, but most organizations can create some damage, especially related with different cultural issues, right? In different cultures, we really see the authority in different perspectives. So first, we have to understand what is really happening. Maybe that manager didn't do it intentionally to take the credit. We have to understand the reason. Maybe they are not good at sharing this credit. And some managers are really bad under pressure. They cannot act. They don't know how to act under pressure. And they don't realize how to give credit to these people under pressure. So you have to understand the intentions of the manager. Okay. So whatever the reason, this is important because you have to act accordingly. and you have to act professionally. I think being professional is always important because it shows your integrity. So what you can do, if they do that, you can send a short message to the group that you are dealing with. For example, you can say, thank you for the support on this project, for example. I'm glad that we solved this issue, and on behalf of my department, for example, I contributed this part to this project. I mean, you can show your effort and you can make it publicly without damaging the integrity of your manager. Still, you respect the manager, but you are also showing your name close to the contribution. This is important. Also, this kind of things are important uh, for future when you need sponsorship. So you are widening your visibility through other channels. So also at the same time, you have to be in cross-functional projects, different groups, or maybe different meetings that senior managers need to see you. Senior managers need to see how you think. You are not in this kind of settings. You are not bypassing your manager. You are only making your work visible in bigger rooms. So when you do that, your immediate manager, even that person have bad intentions, okay, we can say that, they cannot really bypass you. Okay, so it is very important for also sponsorship. So you have to do it consistently. You have to create a trust. So it all depends your personality.
That's very
Yes.
very wise because um, looking for other channels to be able to communicate this value that you present will not bring conflict, and chaos to the organization or to the room, right? Where you don't come and there is now a fight instead of a professional environment. Because the truth is, with the setup, the manager is supposed to be the one to report what is done, no matter who does it, right? So I think that's really, really wise, being able to find other channels to consistently, put out what you do so that leadership can actually see your contributions. That's really, really a wise one. Thank you so much
The
for that.
visibility, again, visibility, that you are also in CIRT Institute, you are talking about visibility a lot.
Absolutely. All right. We have a second question from here. It's Funke from Nigeria. She says, if invisible operational work keeps the department functioning, why does leadership seem to notice only visible wins? That's the question.
Uh, it's actually something we already discussed, but it is the unfair, maybe the most unfair patterns in working life. I experience this a lot, and in my environment, I see this happening a lot. That is really, really important. I know you are doing a lot. You are training maybe new people. You are clarifying the processes. You are doing a lot. I can really relate with that. And but maybe the problem is you are not creating a dramatic moment. You are preventing the dramatic moment. So this is a problem because human nature, we also managers, they notice that dramatic moment. Oh, there's a crisis. They notice that, and someone like a Superman is coming, to rescue that moment. We like to see that. We notice that, but in business life, actually, this crisis management shouldn't be that important. The risk management should be important, and we should be able to see the people who prevented that crisis. Unfortunately, sometimes not with bad intentions, but we don't see that because there's no drama. Because there's no drama, leaders they miss that. Well, when there's a fire, everyone sees that. Okay, when there is no fire because we prevented that fire, there is no story here, right? No story because there's no problem with that prevention. When everything is working well, it disappears into the silence. I think this is a very important and miserable story of the working life. When these people are leaving the company and they are saying bye bye, then we notice this. When it's happening, we don't notice. So the answer here is not about shouting, okay, I am doing everything here, I am just preventing this fire. Probably it won't help, it won't look good, first of all. First of all, I think you should, again, communication. You have to name the risk that you are reducing. I don't know, there are lots of communication ways for that, but maybe you can say, I noticed, for example, new hires in that onboarding were struggling with the same process. So I created this checklist. Okay. So because of this, they can be a really effective tester in the organization. Okay. So you are showing your invisible support into visible capacity. Okay. So it is not helping. You are showing that you are saving time. You are reducing the risk, producing the quality. It's again the communication. Okay. So, but again, it is not the employee's responsibility. This is the leader's responsibility. They should take the responsibility here. Normally, a good manager should notice this before it's gone. It shouldn't be you, but if it is the case, yes, it should be you. But normally, leaders should understand who is holding this place together before it is too late.
Awesome. And I think there's a repeating line here, always having an eye to look for channels. There is nothing like just locking up and saying, I'm invisible, nobody's seeing me, I'm doing the work. Always look for channels and be ready to put yourself out there. Now, that's really, really important. All right. Thank you so much, Doctor, for such a very, very valuable time. I want to ask, do you still have something more as we close, right? Probably in 3 points. How can someone, concluding right now, how can someone get himself, his value noticed by leadership? Something that somebody can do starting from tomorrow.
Okay, starting for tomorrow, first of all, you have to really be a person who is always a lifelong learner. Okay, this is very important. Why this is important? Because everything is also related with the world is changing now. Everything that we talk tonight is related with the new world because the AI is going to change everything. The leadership, how you are going to lead is not going to be same as before. Now, all of us needs to be leaders, even you are a normal employee. You have to lead the agents and everything. So life learning is very important. So starting from tomorrow, you have to understand how you can learn more, okay, and how you can be more human. You have to understand emotional intelligence. You have to learn about that. And emotional intelligence is not something that you learn in a day. You have to read books. You have to speak with other people. You have to understand this translation gap. Different languages are happening in the organizations. Again, it's related to empathy and organizational, emotional intelligence. So you shouldn't leave the gap. And I think also there are lots of things that leaders need to understand but today it is not the topic, I know. And one day, hopefully, these employees who are struggling to be managers, one day they will be the managers, right? I wish they would understand this struggle when they become managers and they would treat their employees accordingly.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it is always, the circle is going like that. So I think this is again related with empathy. So translation, the different languages, understanding this gap, I think they are very, very important.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vildan, for such a very, very valuable session and contribution. We want to say a very big thank you. And we can't wait to have you back for part 2. And I'm sure everyone on this platform, wants to hear from you again. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Vildan, please talk to us. Talk to us about what you do and how probably people can find you, on social media or just to reach out to you.
Thank you, Victor, and thank you, Swift Institute, for creating space for this conversation. And thank you, everyone listening tonight. If they could really manage to listen 1 hour, it is a very big success. Just they need to write Vildan Esenyel. I think they can find me everywhere: Instagram, LinkedIn, and they can with info@vildanesenyel.com. They can also write to me. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Vidan. It's been a pleasure hosting you tonight. And we can't wait for a part two of another conversation in this line again. All right. For everyone on board tonight, tonight's conversation was not really about recognition. It was about interpretation. It was about translation. It was just to show that your contribution matters, your performance matters, but your responsibility also matters. But leadership interprets visibility, they interpret communication, they interpret strategic alignment of goals to the vision of the organization, trusts, and organizational impact. You should also understand that your value is not only created, your value must be understood. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. It's been a very valuable session. And until we come your way again next week, have a beautiful week ahead. Thank you so much, Doctor. It's been a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you. Bye bye.